seconds and counting.
Hey, what's good, guys? It's Clutch and Essam here, back in another video. And for today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Houston Texans. And I'm going to be talking about one specific topic that really isn't in the news or like in any of the really rumors or anything like that. But it's one thing that's kind of like going to be coming up soon. And it's kind of a discussion of what the Washington Commanders are going to do with Chase Young. Now, Chase Young, he's still a very young player. He's still 23. There's some rookies coming out in this year's draft class that are already 23. And this man already has, 3 years under his belt. He's going to be going into his fourth season, still 23, so he's going to be 24 next year. So he's still a very, very young player. And as we know, he's very talented. He was drafted top 5 for a reason. I mean, he was labeled as a generational pass rusher. He was one of Ohio State's best pass rushers in recent memory. I mean, we all know how good the guy was in college and how good he was projected to come into the NFL. Now, it's not all his fault why he hasn't been able to be successful in the NFL, but a little bit it is. I mean, he hasn't taken care of himself. I mean, I guess you really can't say that. It's not fair to him because his injuries aren't really all on him. I mean, they're unnatural injuries, which like a knee injury, I mean, you really can't control that. It just happens. It just occurs. But the main topic of this video is, should Houston pursue Chase Young? I mean, whether that be in free agency, he would be a free agent in 2024 unless Washington puts the fifth-year option on him. So if they do, he would be a free agent in 2025. But if they don't, then he'd be a free agent next year in 2024. And Houston would have plenty of enough cap space. They'd probably have close to like maybe the 50s, 60s, if not more. So they'd have more than enough money to sign Chase Young in free agency. But my idea is, what if you trade for Chase Young? I'm not really sure how much it would cost. I'm not really sure if Washington would entertain it. I would think they would because, I mean, they're already paying 2. Or they're not paying 2, but they're paying 1 and they franchise tagged 1 and they're probably going to want to pay the other. So they're paying Jonathan Allen and they franchise tagged De'Aaron Payne. No way they're going to be able to pay Chase Young 2, right? I mean, is that a good benefactor in terms of resources? Like, would you want to pay 3 defensive linemen? I'm not really sure of any teams that are paying top dollar to 3 defensive linemen. I'm not really sure if there really has been any teams. I really doubt it. And if there has, I mean, that's kind of a dumb way to value resources unless they're just like elite defensive linemen. But I highly doubt Washington would pay all 3 of them or have all 3 of them on the books at the same time. So that leaves me to believe that Washington would eventually put Chase Young on the trade market, whether that be this coming offseason, which for me would be a dream, or whether that be next year. If it was this offseason, I think it would be perfect. I mean, we can go into the draft not really having to worry about an edge rusher, assuming we trade for him. So, we take our quarterback number 2, and number 12, take BPA. And the rest of the draft, you don't really have to worry about, hey, we need to go in here and find a dominant edge rusher or find a guy that we think can be a dominant edge rusher in the future. You already have it in Chase Young, who's still 23, who's still very, very elite. I mean, outside of his injuries, he's been pretty good. Yes, his stats haven't been the best. Yes, I mean, he has 9 sacks in 3 years. But his rookie year, he had 7.5 sacks, 44 total tackles. A couple years ago, I mean, he tore his ACL. I believe it was pretty early on to the season. He got 1.5 sacks. And then last season, he came back kind of late. I believe it was like in the middle of the season, if not a little bit later, when he came back from his ACL injury. So he hasn't had the most productive year, but he has shown glimpses and whatnot of being a dominant elite pass rusher, especially in his rookie year. As a rookie, I mean, 7.5 sacks is nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. But I mean, it's still pretty nice. I mean, he's probably going to be a guy that's going to average maybe 12.5, 13 sacks a year throughout his career. That's what I would think. I feel like that's a pretty safe number, maybe at least 11.5, 12.5. I think he's going to be a really good player. Again, he's still very young. He's still 23. He can still develop a bunch of pass rushing tools. And if he's into a defense where he has a defensive-minded head coach, he's probably going to prioritize him, considering he's going to be like the big staple on this defensive line. I mean, I would really be all for it. I would probably go as far as trading a Cleveland 2024 first-round pick for him. If Washington would want more, to me, it would depend on how much more they want. Like, if it's a first and like a future 4th, I think I would do it. Preferably, I'd want to trade like a second and like a third, maybe a sixth, like those three picks, a second, a third, and a sixth, maybe something like that. But I would think Washington would definitely want a first, considering they drafted him pretty high and he's still pretty young. My debate for that, like if I was Nick Caserio, I would tell them, hey, listen, look, y'all are probably not going to extend him. Y'all are just going to let him walk. I'm not sure if y'all are going to get better offers in this one, especially considering Cleveland's pick can very well be a top 15 pick. Just accept our offer. Let's get Chase Young and let's get this over with. I feel like Nick Caserio can kind of go in there saying something like that, and I think Washington would end up accepting it if it's maybe like a Cleveland first straight up, maybe like a late round pick to match it as well, something like that. But my dream scenario this offseason would be acquiring Chase Young via trade, and I think it was mentioned I'm not sure if it's months or weeks ago, but I did see some type of article or report or something that mentioned that Chase Young could be on the move. I would have to find the article again, but if I find it, I'll link it in the comments below. But yeah, Chase Young, he's probably gonna be moved over the next couple of years, whether that be free agency, trade, but I really, really want Houston to target him somehow, some way. I think he would do wonders to this defense. He would give DeMeco Ryans his Nick Bosa. This Houston defense would be pretty good. I mean, they don't really have to focus too much on getting a true edge talent this year. They could probably just get a defensive tackle, maybe like the third or something like that. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, what do you guys think? Would you guys go after Chase Young? He's still 23. He's going to be 24 this coming season. He's a very, very good, young, promising player who's had to deal with some injuries. But in college, everything was pretty much perfect for him. A great player, great stats, great tape, everything like that. His rookie year was pretty good. Second year, of course, he got hurt. Third year, he came back late into the season from his injury. So, I mean, yeah, what do you guys think? Would you make a move for him? Would you trade a first for him? Let me know down below in the comments. I really enjoy reading them and whatnot. But yeah, it's been Clutch City Entertainment, and I hope you guys have a good day. Peace.